Welcome to the St. John Genealogy Project webcast. Today we will be exploring some lesser-known aspects of the St. John family, uncovering their fascinating stories and ancestral connections. Good morning, everyone. Chat is open if you would like to chat and say hi. I did some pre-recorded videos again, and we're going to talk about DNA mostly today. Afterwards, I'm going to take the individual videos that I'm going to share and upload them one at a time. That way, if there's topics that you want to look at specifically, you can replay them as you need them. And that way you don't have to watch the whole live session on replay if you just want to learn a skill or whatever. So can everyone hear me okay? Okay. Nobody's chatting in chat today, so I'm just going to start. The agenda for today, as I said, was mostly about entering Y-DNA into the TNG website that we have, linking ancestors to DNA data, the icons that I have been using to signal information quickly, and then associating autosomal DNA to profiles and then ancestry's through lines and matching that data. Larry can hear me okay. Hi, Larry. And, okay, so I'm going to start with the first video. If you need me to stop, just signal that in the comments. Otherwise, I'm just going to walk through each of these pre-recorded videos. In this demonstration, I'm going to show you how to add a DNA test. I'm going to use my brother's data, but I'm going to create a generic John Doe, sorry. Let me go back. First thing I'm going to do is click the button on the admin panel that says DNA tests. I am then going to go up here to the add new. And then I get this form that I can fill out. So the first thing is the test type. I'm going to choose Y-DNA. For test number, I'm going to put, I think his name is 233862. And then I'm just going to put a -B because this is a duplicate and I want to know to delete it later. I'm going to choose FTDNA or type in FTDNA as the vendor, and then the test date, let's just say 2004, sure. And we don't really need the match date. I mean, you can add this stuff if you want, but the match date's going to be different for every test subject. It's kind of weird to have this field here, and even, because match date to who? Who is he matching to? There's no way to put in matches here, so I don't really use this field. I don't think it's necessary, but again, this is standard TNG website, and they're just trying to make fields that show up on the test side. Do I want to keep the test private? I'm going to say yes, and then I'm going to say who took the test, and you select the tree, and then you can search for the test subject. If you already know their person ID number, you can type it in, but I do know what it is, but I'm going to go ahead and search it. So I'm going to put Jason J. St. John, and he's going to hopefully come up. And there he is. So his person ID number is I111. I'm going to select him. It's going to populate his person ID number there. If this is a person who is not in our database and we want to add them, we can just type in whatever we want there. If I want to keep his name private, I'm going to say yes. And I'm going to put save and continue. And now we have additional fields that we can fill out in this form. So add test to group A, or to a group, sorry. We're going to say that he's going to go in the Sir William St. John group. We have we have big Y and 111 markers. And I went ahead and copied from his others, so I'm just going to paste those in there. His Y DNA haplogroup is RCTS649, and that is confirmed because he is a big Y test subject. If I was entering this for, say, somebody who only tested up to big Y, and they were a match, I could put this in here and leave this checkbox confirmed. And what that will do is it will say, you know, it's speculative still, but it's most likely that if that person were to upgrade to big Y, they would also be CTS 649 or one of its children. Significant SNPs, our branch is DF27 positive, and the terminal SNP is our CTS 649. Now, if this was, again, somebody that had a haplogroup that was a child of this one, that would be their terminal SNP. But this is actually my brother's terminal SNP, so that's what I'm going to enter. Here you can enter the most distant ancestor and the most recent common ancestor. So for him, we're just going to do the most recent common ancestor, and that would be Christopher St. John. The Esquire of Highlight that died in 1616. And when I entered that, it went ahead and entered some surnames that are in that line. If I wanted to add some notes here, this is a John Doe fake account for demonstration purposes only and will be deleted. Administrator notes, delete this after the demo. Relevant links, if I wanted to put a link to the FTDNA page or a profile page that I have for him, I can do that. If I wanted to link to the media, that sources or whatever, I could put those links here. And then I can choose what I want to display. So when you're looking at it from a search result, do I want to show you the test results? Yes. Do I want to show you the notes? Maybe, maybe not. We're just going to go ahead and choose yes. Do I want to show relevant links and ancestral surnames? Sure, why not? So what you'll see is this link, or this test, is only linked to my brother at the moment. So I'm going to save and exit that. Now what that does is that puts it on my brother's profile page. Let me go to so if I go to my brother's page, he's now going to have an additional test subject showing, or test showing up on his page. So here is his original one, or this is his original one, and this is the fake one that I just made because I have that John Doe note. So now we can see that it is linked to his profile or his page. And so I'm going to open this up, and if I wanted it to be linked to his father, I would edit it. And this is where I enter in the additional pages or profiles that I want it linked to. So then I would link it to my dad. And then I would, his person ID shows up in the field now because I searched for him. Press add, and now I have my dad there. And if I wanted to add my grandfather, I can now select him. His number is now showing up there, and I press add. And I would do this all for each of the ancestors all the way back to Christopher, the most recent common ancestor that I chose right here. And then when I got all of those entered, I would save and exit. And now this DNA test is linked to each of those profiles. So now I'm going to delete the test that I just created for my brother. We're going to search for Y-DNA. And we're going to search for 111. Okay, that's not... Let's see. Try his name. How? Okay, let's just search for all of them. What are they under? Oh, it might be his kit number. 233862. Search. Okay. So now you can see that I have my brother's original showing up, but now we also have this John Doe fake one, and we know that because I put that B there. So I'm going to now delete it by pressing the X. Are you sure you want to delete this test? Okay. And now he's gone. In this demonstration, I'm going to show you how to create a DNA test group. We're going to go to DNA tests, and we're going to go to DNA groups, and add new. Choose the tree that we want to show it in. Can create a group, so we're going to call this one fake. And the test type is going to be Y-DNA. And the description is this fake test group. Save. Now we have a fake test group in our list of test groups. And if we want to go to DNA tests and add new, we could choose Y-DNA, enter the information, and crud. Let's go and edit one. So anyway, if I saved all this information and went to the next screen, it would allow me to choose the fake group. But if I want to go back to this, and if I want to edit my brother, for example, I can add him now to the fake test group here. So it's just, you can either do it on creation of a new test data, or you can edit a test and add them to that new group if you want. So you can move the groups at will. So if I determine that, oh, I made a mistake and, you know, Sir William isn't the ancestor of Matthew, I can move all those test subjects very quickly to the Thomas group without an issue. So I'm going to leave this alone. I'm not going to really make a change to it. So I'm going to go down here and press the cancel button. And it's going to bring me back to this. Now I'm going to go to my DNA groups. And I'm going to delete this fake test group. Press delete. Are you sure you want to delete this group? Okay. And now it's gone. Start. Okay, so what I've done is put my brother's DNA results into his profile. So here you can see that his profile is, or kit number is 233862. So when you go to FTDNA, that's what his information is going to be linked under. And because I can share his information, I've pretty much made him the control subject for everything I do for the descendants of the St. John's of Highlight. It just makes it easier for documenting things and comparing hypotheses. So anyway, he's entered here as 233862, and then I created a source for him. And as you can see, that source has a source ID, and I went ahead and created custom source IDs so that these could be searched easily for reporting purposes. So they're all going to follow this format: DNA test underscore FTDNA, or it'd be Ancestry DNA or MyHeritage DNA. And then if they have a kit number from FTDNA, then I use that kit number. If I don't have a kit number, for example, for an Ancestry DNA test, I'm going to use the person ID for that test subject. And So there's the source data. This link links to the DNA test. So I type that in and click enter, and it's going to open my brother's DNA profile on the website, which is also found under DNA tests under the info menu. So this gives the information for my brother's test, and it shows which profiles it is linked to. So because my brother tested and he has a match, we can say that this test confirms all the ancestors to where those two matches converge, and that would be their most common recent ancestor. So what I've also done is, let me go back up here. I created a custom event. Hang on. I created a custom event called DNA test confirmation. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to add that on my brother's profile. And, oops. Then I'm going to put this person tested big Y with family tree DNA and is recorded under hit 233862. So what that does is it establishes him as a person that DNA tested. Again, it's a repeat of this field, but I'm using it for different purposes. So now I'm going to add that source to it, copy last, hopefully, yeah, there it is. So that links it to that DNA test source that I created. Finish and save. So now when we go to my brother's profile, that's going to show up there. It's going to link to the same source, but now when you open the source, you're going to see that I have linked this information to all of my brother's direct ancestors going back to Sir Christopher St. John. But what I can also do is I linked this source, I gave it a primary image saying that this source is a descendant of Sir William St. John. That gives you visual confirmation when you look at the profile. And then I can also add other things to support this DNA test. Like, for example, I have a order history. So this is my brother's DNA test order history. It shows that he first started with a 37 YSTR kit back in 2012. Then he took some S&P testing. We confirmed DF27. And then he upgraded to Big Y in 2020. So now there's the order history for this kit. It establishes that it was taken. It, just provides more evidence. But then also what I can do here is what I've started is putting in his matches. So I've only got one entered, and we're going to walk through how to enter some more. But as you can see, I have a screenshot. I'm going to open this up. So I have this screenshot of the FTDNA matches list. I redacted the person's first name for privacy, and then I entered this row that shows that my brother's kit 233862 is a Big Y match to kit 418428, and that replaces this right here, the name that's been redacted, because I'm not allowed to show, and I wouldn't want to show, the matching information between kit and the person's name. Unless they explicitly write family tree DNA and say that I'm allowed to share that information, I do not. So now we have this image linked to my brother's source. And this provides, more validity to the source. And so what I also did was I put this information into the description of the media. So if I were to edit the media, you can see that, oh, I opened the wrong thing, sorry. if I edit media here, this edits the source. If I edit the media, I can go down here. And so what I did was I just left the source ID as the title, and then I just added this information so that it's there. It'll come up in a search, things like that. If you type this number in here, this is our haplogroup. And so what this is showing is that the main haplogroup is CTS649. However, this test subject actually has one step further, because there are multiple people who tested Big Y under their shared ancestor. So my brother descends from Ebenezer, and this test kit descends from his brother Job, and we have, what's his name? Samuel. So we have these test kits under Samuel that allowed that branch to have a secondary or a child haplogroup, because as you move closer to your more recent ancestors, you're going to have more defined SNPs for that branch. And so, like, if this test subject were to test his brother, for example, then they would have a whole slew of shared child SNPs that would take this, further out. But right now we only have a couple in their higher branch. So this is just the next SNP that falls under the CTS649. But the CTS649 is what we're considering the shared haplogroup, or the terminal SNP for the descendants of Christopher St. John. I hope that makes sense. So I'm going to enter this information into each of the medias that I add. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that, save and exit. And now I'm going to go back to the source. And I went ahead and did the screenshot so that I could redact the names. And so now I'm going to work on adding them to this source profile and make this source more robust. Okay, so I'm going to edit this source in order to add additional media to it. And so here I have the source information that I entered in, but there's the add media button that I'm going to press. This operation will take place in a new tab. Close the tab when you're ready to return here. So okay. And now we have this collection that I created called Big Y Matches. And now I can go into my brother's folder and where I saved all of these matches. And so I'm going to choose the next one. So now I have the file name that shows that it's kit 233862 match to 314501. And I'm going to paste this information in there. So then I'm going to copy that kit number. And I'll put this. I'm going to leave that blank, and I think if I need to, I will update that. And so I'm going to leave that for now and save it. And now you can see that we have the media file attached to the source. And I'm going to save and exit. And we're going to close this window. Brings us back to our source. We're going to save and exit. And now when we go to the source, we now have two images for the Big Y matches. And so I'm going to now open this image back up. It's going to show me the information so that I can see it. Okay, so we have a genetic distance of 5 steps. So I'm going to edit the media. And I'm going to put a genetic distance of 5. I don't want that to be bold. And I'm going to save and exit. Oh, I guess I could just tap back over to this picture. 9 out of 629. I lost my place. Where was I? 9. I think it was 627. And then the haplogroup is RCTS649. So I can delete that stuff. Okay, so now I'm going to save it. And now this information that is captured here in an image is now searchable text because I added it to the field. And that is how you add additional evidence to support this source. And so as I move on, I will add all those that were in that folder, and then we have not only a source with a citation back to my brother's test kit, but I'm also including the match data, and you can see it there. And what I'm also going to do, but I'm not going to do it now because it would show that person's name, is I'm going to link this source to that DNA test subjects to show that they are a match. So that confirmation field that I added to the profile, I'm going to add that to his match and then put a source on it. And that way this source will link not only to my brother, but to all of his big Y matches and other level matches. Okay, so I realized that I made a mistake when I entered in this big Y YSTR differences, because it should be 629 as it shows right here. So now I can edit this media and scroll down and correct my mistake there. Save and exit, and now the data matches as it's supposed to. So I entered 8 images so far of the big Y matches. So I'm going to just open these up and verify they're correct and toggle through them and edit them. So this one is 418428. That matches that. Genetic distance of 1. 8 out of 667. And the shared haplogroup of RTS S649, sorry, and then the sub SMP, that's that branch specific. So I'm going to move to the next one. And this one I have kit 314501, genetic distance of 5, 9 out of 629, that's the one I corrected. And this one needs updated, so I have the 453955 matching. Genetic distance of 4, so we're going to edit this. And we're going to put the 4 there. Go back over here. Oh, this kit doesn't have the big Y differences yet. This one is a new test that's being updated. So I will replace this image when I get the big Y data back. This is one of our newer test subjects. So I'm going to go ahead and just save that. I'm at 453. 453, yeah. So on the reason that it's showing the 4 steps is because this is based on the 111 markers. So we'll have this information once the big Y is finished. It should be in the next week to 3 weeks, hopefully. They're kind of behind right now. So I'm going to go ahead and save that one and leave it. And it should update. So yeah, now the 4 steps matches. Oh, I didn't want that bold. So I'm going to edit this and just make that not bold. And save and exit. Now it's updated. That is no longer bold. And when I have that data within the next few weeks, I will add that. So I'm going to move on to the next one. And this one is 889621. That matches that. We have a genetic distance of 4. And I'm going to add 4 there. And the 6 out of 584. 6 out of 584. And Same haplogroup. There's no sub haplogroup there or child. SMP, and I'm going to save and exit. And now that profile or that image is updated. And now we're going to move to the next one. And we have a genetic distance of 3. Oops. I clicked the wrong button. I need to, there's an edit the source up here, and then there's edit media here. And so that's the one I want, edit media. Genetic distance of 3. And 6 out of 665. And this one has a child haplogroup. I think it was RF. T39. 5525. Okay, and I'm going to save and exit that. Close that. Go back to that. And it should match. FT395525. 6 out of 665. Genetic distance 3. And I'm going to go to the next one now. And so here's another one. We have 974107. That matches that. Genetic distance of 2. And this one does not have its big Y data back yet either. So we're going to just put a genetic distance of 2. And leave that one. And go to the next one. Let's see, 10181, 10181 there, genetic distance of 2. And 10 out of 640. And same haplogroup. Save and exit. And move to the last one. And let's see, we have genetic distance of 2. And 7 out of 651. Same haplogroup. And so I'm going to save and exit. And now all 8 of them have been updated. And I think what I'm going to do on my my event, that wasn't it. Let's see, what is this? Oh, it's a media folder. I think I'm going to rename that media folder Big Y and 111 YSTRs. No, I want the collection. Well, let's see. DNA test. Let's just do it from here. Edit. Save and exit. Go to the source. This is what I'm trying to rename, this folder right here. So if I go there and I edit media, I can edit the collection here. So Big Y and 111 matches. Because I think the ones that didn't have data are either only because they tested 111 or the results aren't back. Why isn't that saving? Cloudflare again. Okay, now this should save. Yep. So I'm going to save and exit that. Close that because I had to refresh. So now when I go to the source data, the DNA evidence, the big Y matches there. So now it shows that this is evidence for both big Y and 111. Okay, so this is my brother's DNA test profile on the website. It can be found by going to the info menu, DNA tests, and then searching for the Y-DNA test results. What you can learn from this is that I have linked this test to all of my brother's direct lineal paternal line ancestors. And so that there's Jason, that's my brother, my dad, my grandfather, my great-grandfather, third great-grandfather, and so on back to Christopher of Highlight. So what this does is this puts this DNA test kit information on each of these profiles. So as we move backwards in time, let's like go to my dad's profile, for example, and scroll down, we can see that there is a DNA test. Even though my father died in 2008 and we didn't get him tested, this is still linked to him. Because of my brother's matches, we can infer that all of the ancestors from my brother going back to the common ancestor are validated through this test. So now, as we go further back, like if we keep going, let's pick a further back ancestor. My brother is the only tester for our line under Ebenezer, so we're going to start with Ebenezer. So Ebenezer has one test kit. He is the son of Captain Samuel St. John. But because if we go further back to Samuel, and I have to log out so you don't see names. Okay, so if we go to Samuel's line, it goes from 1 to 11 tests. Because there are 10 other tests under Samuel's other sons. We have, I think, 2 under Samuel, maybe 4 under Job, and then we have Noah. So there are 4 or 5 sons that have tested under Samuel. And because my brother matches them, we can infer that all of those test subjects prove that Captain Samuel is the common ancestor, because we have also documented records back to him. And so as you go further back in time, you may only have 1 test subject or no test subjects for a specific branch, but as you go further back in time, that number increases because we have branches merging at these ancestors. So Captain Samuel merges these 11 test kits from 4 or 5 different sons, I think 4. And, if you click on this test type, it will take you to that test data. But my brother's is not private because I have permission to keep his public. But all these other ones are private. And then, so if I click on this one, it's going to show me the test subject, their father, and their grandfather are private. And then all of their other ancestors. So yes, you cannot confirm or have access to the living private data, but you can still, if you don't believe us, you can go into each one of these ancestors and you can confirm the line at least back to the grandfather. Do as you wish, that's perfectly fine. If you don't believe our results, you can go to each one of these test kits and confirm them yourself. Let's see what else. So as we go from Samuel back to his father, it's still going to be, if we go to his father, we're still only going to have 11 test subjects. And we go to his father, and we're still only going to have 11 test subjects. We go to his alleged father, and we're going to have, I've got 1, we have 10, I have 1 I still have to update. So then we go to his father, Christopher, and notice we're going further back in time. we now have 19 test subjects. And this is just Y-DNA. I haven't even started entering in the autosomal DNA. So anyway, now we have 19. And you might be going, well, how did you go from 10 or 11 to 19? And the reason is because we have all of the descendants of Matthias and Mary Tinker who validate the Matthias, Christopher, Thomas, Christopher branch. And that is who my brother matches at one step at 25 markers. So I believe we have a branch mutation that proves William is the ancestor of Matthew and Thomas is the ancestor of Matthias. But that's still a working theory we're trying to prove. And in the meantime, we have these test subjects who appear to be on two different branches converging here. Even if Matthew does descend from Thomas, or he's closer in relationship to Matthias, the ancestor would still be this Christopher of Highlight. So it's the refining of which branch Samuel belongs to is just a secondary issue. It doesn't change this overall history because there is a documented path between Matthias and Mary Tinker to Christopher, and then Christopher to Thomas, and Thomas to his father Christopher. So that is a documented line. We have wills and other records confirming each generation. So that's not the issue. We are for sure descendants of Christopher of Highlight and Elizabeth Broderick. But I'm trying to figure out exactly where Samuel fits. But anyway, so if we were to get, let's say, if we could find a test subject under Maurice, who was Sir William or Christopher's younger brother, if we had a test subject under Maurice that matched us, that would bring us back to Christopher's father, William, and then we would be able to say, oh, we can now go back even further. But right now, we still are confined to the 19. And I don't even link those DNA tests to his father. So, we are only showing the DNA test matching for this group of test subjects back to the confirmed Merca, or most recent common ancestor, which is Christopher. So in this demonstration, I'm going to show you how to find the DNA test information on our website through the search functions. So the first thing you want to do is go to the top menu and select the Info tab, and then you're going to scroll down to DNA test. And you're going to click it, and it's going to bring you to the DNA test section. This is just all of the test DNA that's entered, but if you want to narrow it down by test groups, because we have multiple St. John branches in our test population, you're going to want to first make sure that you're in our main tree, which is St. John Origin and Ancestry DNA database. That should automatically populate by default. Then you're going to have test type, and then you can select from the different test types. If you want Y-DNA, you select Y-DNA. And now we have the Y-DNA broken down into groups. So we have, for the Highlight family, we have the descendants of William, and then we have the descendants of Thomas. And then we have NPE groups that we haven't identified yet, or we have identified them. Like some of them we do know that they're an NPE of the Matthias and Mary group, and we have figured out where the break occurred. We also have quite a few lines in Ireland, and we have, like, I think 4 different NPE groups for this George St. John and Nancy Bryan of Virginia line. And so I'm going to choose Thomas and Jane Matthew. It's going to list all the test subjects that are under that group. And then if you select, you can select one or you can select all of them. I'm going to select all of them because I want to look and see what the results look like. So if you select Compare Selected, it will now give you all those test kits that I just checked. And it's going to put them all in their results, similar to how it's reported on FTDNA's website. So now it highlights the mutations that are different between the test subjects. And you can see that for DYS439, all of these test subjects have a 12. If we go back to this and select our tree, select Y-DNA, and then we look at Williams group, select all, compare. And Williams group for that, we can see that for DYS439 they have an 11 and not the 12. So this is where I believe that the two lines have split back in the 1500s, and I'm looking to prove it with people upgrading their test kits to big Y. And because these first 12 markers are supposed to be more stable, they're older, and they're supposed to be more stable. So when you see a mutation that's not random, and we know it's not random because it's occurring in every single test subject. Now, if 11 only showed up every once in a while, I wouldn't think twice about it. But the fact that it shows up in every single one of these, in comparison to the other group, which is always 12, to me that seems pretty significant. It looks to be a branch mutation. But where it occurred, I'm not 100% sure. The tip calculators suggest 1550, but, science is constantly updating, so it could, we might find something different soon. But anyway, you can scroll and you can see the results for all of the markers. And you can look at this data yourself and you can compare it. And if you want to go back to all DNA tests and select our tree, select Y-DNA, go back to Thomas's group, for example. Now we can, you can click on this test number, and it's going to open up that profile that I've showed you already. And again, we can see the father and the grandfather and the great-grand, or the test subject, the father and the grandfather are private. What I'm going to do for this demonstration is show you why and I use the icons to represent DNA tests and how they're visually helpful. So as you can see with Christopher, I have this purple icon. It's supposed to be the composite of blue and red together. And so I made all the descendants of, the alleged descendants of Sir William Red and the descendants of Thomas Blue, his sons. And so when we go to the Descendants tab, it starts out with 4 generations. And so we can automatically see, if I can get my mouse out of the way, that we have this mix of reds and blues. So if we scroll through this, it becomes pretty clear where we have gaps in the data. So if there's a line that doesn't have a DNA icon there, that's either because it's a female line or we don't have a DNA test subject for the male line. And eventually, as I enter all of the autosomal matches and things like that, we're going to have, this is going to fill up more. But we can also look at this in the register format, and it's going to give this report, and it's going to show the icon with the individual. So as we scroll here, we can see that Williams is red and Thomas's is blue, but we also have other sons that we don't have test data for that we might eventually one day if we can, find the right branches. So as we go further down, we can see that the red continues, the blue continues. And then each generation, we're going to see this increase. So we're now at generation 4, and we're still just seeing 1 red and 1 blue because we're drilling down to the branches that we currently have. So we don't have, that's it. We have, 1 straight line going down from Thomas and 1 going down from William. However, if we increase this to, let's say, 8 generations, and then scroll down to the bottom, we're going to see that we have, a lot more color in our report because we have a lot more test data. And as I enter in the autosomal DNA, these other branches are going to start getting their own icons. So for Y-DNA, it's dark blue, and for Thomas's line, and dark red for William's line. And then light blue will be autosomal DNA for Thomas's line, and a pinkish color is going to be autosomal DNA for William's line when this is all entered. And then we'll have all of these images. So like Dorothy right here, we may have test subjects that confirm Dorothy, but instead of being a dark blue, they would be a light blue, and it would, you know, whether it went through her daughter Sarah Hyde or her son David, it would show up. And that way, eventually, we can see that which branches are confirmed very quickly. And that will also help us identify where we need test subjects. So when you come to our website and you don't see a test or a icon for your ancestor, say you descend from Anne or you descend from the Samuel, if you don't see a test subject here, we would like you to test. If you can contact me, I can get you set up to do either a Y-DNA test if you descend from Samuel, or an autosomal DNA test if you descend from Anne, for example. So that's the goal of this, is so that when you come to the site, you can see if your ancestor's line is tested. And if it's not, we need your DNA to get this to be as robust and detailed as possible, and validate as many lines as we can. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is add my DNA match to my brother from our ancestry, his ancestry DNA test. So the first thing I'm going to do is go to my brother's matches. Here I am. I'm going to copy this line right here, and then I'm going to go over to his profile, and I'm going to put edit. And then I'm going to add a new event, and I have a custom event for a DNA match, ancestry DNA. And I'm going to paste that information in there. And match between Jason St. John and Suzanne St. John. Full siblings. And then I have the shared DNA information. So then I'm going to put save. And now I'm going to put a source to this. So what I have done is I'm going to find my brother's source, and it's going to be DNA test. Oh, it doesn't come up by DNA number. Let me see. It is ancestry DNA. Oops. So there's the DNA test for my brother, who is I-111. And so I'm going to choose this one. And now reliability is 3. And I'm going to take the actual text from ancestry, put that in there, and we'll put today's date. And leave it at that. Press save, finish, save and exit. And so now on my brother's page, if we click on this source, it will take us down here, and we'll see that he has a source for his Y-DNA, and now he has a source for his ancestry DNA. And then this is the actual source information. And so what I can do is I can now add media, and I can put a screenshot of our match data, and it will create a list of his matches, and it will support this DNA test. So what I've done is I've added a screenshot of my brother's through lines, and I added that media that shows that my brother and I are a match. And so what this is showing is that through my father, Jason and I are full siblings, and it displays our CM data and the number of segments that we share. And so that shows up on the source, and as I add all of his matches, this source becomes more robust, and it will grow with time because as more matches are worked through, that data can be added here, and we only have to add the source once. Last thing I want to show you on this is that for the Ancestry DNA test, you can see that he has the pink icon. And then for the Y-DNA test, he has the dark red icon. And if you want to see them up close, the dark red icon is linked to his Y-DNA. And the pink icon is linked to his Ancestry DNA. So on the home page of the website, if you scroll down, you can go to this link here called DNA Project Results. And so what I've started doing is trying to build out profile pages for the DNA test subjects. So I have one here for my brother. And so what I've done is I've created this profile page for him. It gives you his kit number, his name. If this was somebody else's, it would be private. And it says that he's a big Y test subject. There's a link to his profile page on the website. This is his DNA test data, his haplogroup information, and where he tested at FTDNA. Did he test with Ancestry? Yes. And the dates of those tests. I have it indicated here that this DNA kit is displayed publicly with informed consent. And then there are companion profiles, so there's his Y-DNA, or his profile and my profile. And it says that we are full siblings. So then there's cross-reference data where he shows up on other websites. And this is his Ancestry matches through lines. And so what I did was I blocked out names of people that we don't want to display publicly. So for the first one, it shows that my brother and I confirm we share the same father because we are a sibling match. And then I have our grandfather, and there's, cousins that are matching us. And you scroll through, and it gives, great-grandfather, and the matches that fit our great-grandparents, and so on. And it goes down, because through lines will go through your fifth great-grandparents. So as you scroll, you'll see that my brother's matches are all appearing. And basically, this is a quick way that you can see the information, and I can redact the names so they're not displaying, but that you can verify a profile. So hopefully, eventually, I'll get all these built out. And, we have different groups. So we have the MPEs, we have the DePort St. John's, and then when I go back to that main thing, there's going to be a whole list of each test kit's going to have their own profile page when I finish this. So hopefully that will make the DNA results more transparent, more understandable, and easy to follow along. And eventually I'll get all this data in here. Okay, so I think I skipped a video, and I'm going to go ahead and play it, but if you think you've already seen it, can you just tell me in the comments, and I'll just turn it back off. So I'm going to switch to it now, and if it is something you've seen, just let me know. So now I'm going to delete the test that I just created for my brother. We're going to search for Y-DNA. And we're going to search for I111. Okay, that's not, let's see. Try his name. Okay, let's just search for all of them. What are they under? Oh, it might be his kit number. 233862. Search. Okay. So now you can see that I have my brother's original showing up, but now we also have this John Doe fake one, and we know that because I put that B there. So I'm going to now delete it by pressing the X. Are you sure you want to delete this test? Okay, and now he's gone. Okay, so that's all I have today. If there's not any questions, we will end soon. So I'm going to wait a few seconds to make sure that everybody gets here to the end. The video is on a little bit of a delay, it looks like, so I don't want to cut off before people have a chance to ask questions. I am going to put all of these videos into individual ones on the site under the TNG Academy playlist. That way, if you do want to rewatch something, you can. And it looks like everybody's back on this screen. Okay, so if you have any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to end here. Thank you all for coming.